Right, the hurling team of the year has been announced, and I'll just run through it first of all before sinking my teeth into it. Brian Hogan in goals of Tipperary, full back line Sean Finn, Ronan Maher of Tipperary, Cathal Barrett, Brendan Maher, Pauric Walsh, Pauric Maher, Noel McGrath and Dermot O'Keefe are the midfielders, and then the six forwards are Lee Chin, TJ Reid, Colin Fennelly, Aaron Gillan, Seamus Callanan, and Patrick Horgan. Right, so all brilliant players, all played very well at different parts of the season. But should that be the 2019 PwC All Star Hurling Final 15, as they like to call it? I would say I would say not. Now, first of all, there was a couple of guys who should have been nominated that aren't named in here. I think Paddy Smith is one that definitely should have been nominated for the full back line somewhere along the lines. It's six defenders now rather than full back line and half back line. But he was definitely Dublin's best forward or back. Owen O'Donnell and Chris Crummy were nominated, but that shouldn't have been the case. Kevin Foley nominated as a midfielder, even though he played sweeper all year. I just don't think a sweeper, a spare man, should be nominated full stop, and certainly not a midfield just because he wore number 8. Liam McGovern wasn't nominated. He definitely should have been, and possibly should have even won an All Star. But of course, not a sexy name, even if he does have the sexy hair. So I think it's definitely a situation whereby you have a huge amount of people in the one room who all have their own idea of a team, and you end up with a team that is a Frankenstein effort where everyone's got a little bit of something. We'll tick the box because we need a few All Stars from this county, that county, and the other county, and you basically end up with a team of concessions and nobody's actual team here. There's plenty of names, big name players that are just picked because, sure, look, most people won't argue if that big name is there. And I'm going to go for one at centre back. I think Pauric Walsh is a brilliant player. He's definitely deserved All Stars in the past, but I think his one was picked by virtue and probably name here. He did have some really good games, but the two most exacting games of the year for Kilkenny were the Leinster final, the All Ireland final. He was centre back, and he he never really got a rose a gallop in either of those two games. I think Wexford played it very, very well. They knew that he would be the spare man that Wexford were allowing Kilkenny to have. He was playing more or less on the D. Wexford played within 100 yards of their own goal throughout the whole game. Rarely ever hit it in there. So Walsh couldn't get into the game. And I think in the puckouts, they just kind of drew everyone straight into the middle, bunched in around him, so he couldn't, like a free man at centre back operates best when there's like puck outs hit in one-on-one scenarios and he can sweep in behind because the ball is broken. So I don't think he ever got going in either of those big finals. Match O'Hanlon, I see someone who could have been mentioned, maybe Hugh Lawler in fullback and then Rona Maher out in the half back line. But of course, there's something that would have probably, I would say, in terms of optics, and I guarantee you this is the way it would have looked. We can't have three Mahers from Tipperary all in the half back line. It'll look odd. We need to break it up. I'm pretty certain that that's the way it would have gone. Noel McGrath at midfield, I don't think anyone would argue with that. The only thing people would argue about is the fact that he wasn't nominated for Hurler of the Year, which of course was fairly ridiculous. It's his first All-Star in 9 years. Like Noel McGrath won him in 2009 and 2010. He's still only 28 and it's for his first All-Star in 9 years. So that's just fairly, it just feels a bit nuts. By the way, I should say, just back to the full back line, no issue with that. Brian Hogan in goals, maybe Ender Rowland could have got in there, but I think Brian Hogan just, I think as well the fact that it just stood out so much, those Hawkeye scores, even though he didn't exactly, like, they still ended up being scores, but just the fact that he's just so noted because of that, I think that probably hurt Ender Rowland's chances. Owen Murphy is the best keeper in the game, but Hogan probably just about deserves it there. Dermot O'Keefe midfield, 11 points from midfield, for them in that game down in Wexford Park against Kilkenny that day when he fairly reddened Killian Buckley. Now Buckley was only back after about 10 months out, I'd say, with injury, so that could have happened to anyone really coming back from that sort of injury. O'Keefe excellent throughout the whole year. Lee Chin and wing forward, brilliant in the Leinster final, brilliant a lot of days, but fairly poor against Tipperary in that All-Ireland semi-final. Yeah, he got the goal, but I think Barry Heffernan had him in check for pretty much the whole game, and then Seamus Kennedy swapped on him, got the goal, but Kennedy had him then for the rest of the game. I felt Liam McGovern far more deserving, I would have said, but not even nominated. TJ Reid, centre forward, goes without saying, magic pretty much every day, and who'll forget his performance when Kilkenny went down to 13 men against Galway. So yeah, and scoreless, I think, in three of the games, but you can't not have him in there. Colin Fennelly led the line in the big games, 1-3 in that game against Limerick when they dethroned the champions who were supposed to be unstoppable, and he'd been injured in the week beforehand. Trojan performance, very, very good. I think, like pretty much any Kilkenny forward, didn't happen in the All Ireland final. Just going long ball all day was manna from heaven for Tipperary and Ronan Maher that day. Right, so on the full forward line then, and again, they're all forwards, it doesn't really matter what positions they play. Aaron Gillan is named, 211 from play, 350 overall. I wonder, was Graham Mulcahy better overall? Like, even in that Kilkenny game when everyone else was falling apart, I think Mulcahy in the first 20 minutes was absolutely brilliant. Gillan had 4 or 5 wides that day. Still really, really brilliant, don't get me wrong. This isn't a case of any player on this team was rubbish and therefore shouldn't be in there. He was very good, but I wonder, would Conor MacDonald not have been the better choice here? 2-5 from play in the Leinster final and the All Ireland semi final, fourth most from play in the competition, more than TJ Reid and Colin Fennelly, who I've named in here. So that's what I'd be looking at, and I think Gillan, Chin, Pauric, Walsh, they're all huge names that in general people are just going to go, oh yeah, they're class. Obviously they deserve all stars. So that'd be my view on that. Seamus Callan then named full forward, goes without saying. Obviously Patrick Horgan named at 15. I probably wouldn't have him as an All-Star nomination or Hurler of the Year nomination, but a guaranteed All-Star. The 310 against Kilkenny was outrageous. My own team of the year then. And feel free to have a pop at me. Let me know what you think, because definitely not everyone's going to agree. But I'll just name it out 1 to 15. Brian Hogan, Tipperary. Sean Finn of Limerick. Hugh Lawler of Kilkenny. Cathal Bart, Tipperary. Brendan Maher, Tipperary. Ronan Maher, Tipperary. Pauric Maher, Tipperary. Noel McGrath, Tipperary. Diarmuid O'Keefe, Wexford. Liam McGovern, Wexford. TJ Reid, Kilkenny. Colin Fennelly, Kilkenny. Conor MacDonald, Wexford. Seamus Callan, Tipperary, and Patrick Horgan, Cork. So let us know what you think. Let us know if you think that there's any particular reason why these all-star teams are picked the way they are. Do you think it's simply an issue of too many cooks spoiling the broth, or are you happy with the all-star team? So just let me know what you think.